Hello everyone and welcome to Front Row Cinema Club. How have you all been doing? You know when you see a film and you just can't stop thinking about it? Well, today I want to talk to you about 1937's Song at Midnight, aka
夜半歌声.
Yeah, get ready for some seamless Mandarin in this video. It's available on YouTube with subtitles if you're interested in watching it for yourself. I'll leave a link. And before we start, if I could quickly ask you to like, subscribe, share this where you can, it really helps me out. Thank you. I've heard about this film for a long time. It's often mentioned but seldom seen because it's widely regarded as the first ever Chinese horror film, and I just find it fascinating that it even exists. The 20th century for China was a tumultuous century. Very briefly, in 1911 there was a revolution in which the emperor and 2,000 years of imperial rule was removed and a republic instated. This didn't go very smoothly, so that in the 1920s there were lots of different parties vying for political power. One of these parties was called the Kuomintang, or KMT, which would take overall control of China in 1928. In 1933, Japan invaded, and then on the 7th of July 1937 they began a full-scale offensive. Then World War II starts, but we don't need to get into that for our purposes today. So, Song at Midnight was released in February of 1937, just 5 months before China was plunged into the chaos of a foreign invasion. No wonder this film feels so full of foreboding and anticipatory of menace. Let's get into the story a bit and I can better explain why I find this film so interesting. I started watching and I thought two things. Number one, it's 2 hours long. There's no way I'm going to stay focused throughout this whole thing. And number two, good God, this copy of the film looks very poorly preserved. That's going to be an issue. With this rather pessimistic outlook, I began my viewing, and it wasn't good. The first 15 or so minutes of Song at Midnight are a slog. Everything's very dark, so you can't really see what's happening, and not that much happens anyway. An old man with facial prosthetics, I think, sort of hope for his sake, walks around in the dark. The scene really reminds me of the opening of the Lon Chaney version of Phantom of the Opera, a film I like so much I use it as the logo for this channel, which makes sense because Song at Midnight is basically a rip-off. It's Phantom with Chinese characteristics. Apparently the director was often referred to as the Lon Chaney of the East in China. That's a fun fact, seems fitting. Major spoilers to follow. Then a man in silhouette sings a song. He starts singing this song at 7 minutes 55 seconds in. He finishes at 14 minutes 30. That's 6 minutes and 35 seconds of singing. And this isn't a banger. This wasn't a Psychomania situation where I was singing the song the day after. I wasn't having fun. I wouldn't normally say this and I feel a bit dirty saying it here because films are art and should be seen in full yada yada, director's vision, blah blah. I fully give you permission to skip the first 15 minutes of this film because the stuff that comes after is worth seeing. I have no doubt that at the time of release Chinese audiences were thrilled by this little ditty, but it's not necessarily aged very well. Fully talking pictures were relatively new in the country. There had been films with dialogue before, but often the sound was recorded separately and played in theatres to sync up with the action on screen. It wasn't true sound film. The Angel Theatre troupe arrive at a spooky abandoned theatre on a dark and stormy night. They're going to put on a performance there. It's now we meet this fella, Zhao Yu, the troupe's leading man. Apologies for my pronunciation and all the pronunciations that will follow hereafter. I'm doing my best. Zhao Yu has some problems with his performance and struggles to sing the lines correctly until he is guided by a spectral voice. Zhao Yu freaks out, but then finds out he isn't hearing a ghost, but rather the voice of a famous actor named Dan Ping, who mysteriously vanished some years ago. Dan Ping takes Zhao Yu under his wing and becomes his mentor. The show goes on and is a great success. Damping then opens up to Zhao Er, revealing that after fighting on the losing side in a 1913 battle between the KMT, previously mentioned, and the Beiyang government, he was forced to assume a new identity. Damping worked as an actor and fell in love with this girl, and everything was going swimmingly until a man called Tan Jun, who also loved the girl, threw acid all over Damping's face. Damping survived the attack but was horribly disfigured. He faked his own death and went into hiding in the theatre. The girl went mad. And then he started singing to her at midnight to calm her down a bit. And here we are. Everything comes to a head when Tan Jun attacks Zhao Er's girlfriend, tries to shoot Zhao Er, but accidentally shoots the girlfriend instead. Damping jumps out and kills Tan Jun. But then the theatre audience think he's a monster due to his acid disfigurement and chase him to his death. This makes the girl he was in love with snap out of her insanity, and that's basically it, a simplified version of all the events. A phantom rip-off and horror film this may be, but Song at Midnight is also a clear political piece. The director sets up Damping as a failed revolutionary who was paid horribly for his political leanings, encouraging the audience to empathise with his plight. Damping teaches Zhao Er revolutionary songs and encourages him to take the reins as a revolutionary activist through his music. I was reading an excellent and really thorough article written by someone called Yomi Brewster, link below, who said the plot follows the general pattern of a Soviet novel. Hero arrives in a new place that needs to be set right. Hero mobilises people to act, encounters resistance from counter-revolutionary forces, overcomes obstacles, then completes mission. Now, I'm a film person, obviously. I love foreign films, old films, weird films. I don't mind a slow burn, and I'm very open-minded. I love Asian cinema. But starting off on Song at Midnight, I'd be lying if I didn't say I had the suspicion I wouldn't get into it. I thought it might be an interesting historical oddity at best, that it would somehow be too foreign and too far removed from my own experience to be relatable, and I was so wrong. Song at Midnight is really westernised. The director, Ma Zhu Weibang's influences are so obvious. If he didn't sit down and watch Frankenstein, Phantom and a good deal of German expressionism, I'd eat my hat. This isn't a Chinese-style ghost story. Not that there's anything wrong with Chinese ghost stories, but it's set in an almost European-style haunted house theatre, complete with shadowy corners, full moons and spiderwebs. When the film was played in China, reportedly, cinemas were decked out with coffins and posters featuring a ghost-like face with green bulbs for eyes. There were even news reports that the film scared a child to death. Children under 6 were then refused entry to screenings. Damping's makeup, his burnt face, is really disturbing. I can imagine a 1937 audience would have been genuinely horrified. Upon its release, Song at Midnight became a box office smash. It was voted as one of the 100 best Chinese films of all time by the Hong Kong Film Awards. It's been remade in 1956, 1962, 1985 and 1985. I also think it's been made for TV a couple of times too. I haven't seen any of those versions yet, but I'm quite interested in the version starring Leslie Chung as Song Damping. The film also had a direct sequel in 1941, the creatively titled Song at Midnight 2. Unfortunately, however, no copies are known to survive. The copies of the film, the ones I found at least, aren't good. Something's going on with the audio, the voices are all distorted and high and the picture isn't clear. But if you can look past that, Song at Midnight is a fascinating Gothic horror. There isn't a copious amount of information available on all the actors on the English language internet, and I can't help but wonder what became of some of them in the tumultuous decades that were to follow. The actor who played Song Damping, named Jin Shan, has a Wikipedia page that makes for some interesting and sadly quite depressing reading. And the lady who played Damping's girlfriend,
Hu Ping,
she didn't have a happy life after this either. I'm reliably informed that these two actors are both still fairly well-known names in China. Even if people haven't seen them in something, they're familiar with the names. Oh, and the director got knocked down by a car and killed. I'll leave a link in the description in case you want to do some of your own reading. There wasn't much information to be found at all about the actor who played Xiao in either Chinese or English, so I'd be interested if anyone knows what happened to him. Well, that about wraps it up for me here. Thank you so much for spending some time with my channel today, and thank you very much to my best Mandarin speaking guest. Bet you didn't even notice he was there, did you, viewers? Seamless, seamless, I say. What did you think of Song at Midnight? What films have you been enjoying lately? Let me know in the comments, and see you again soon. Bye bye.